Hi, this is Ed. I'm in San Diego, and our very special guest today, Stephen Howard, is back with us, and he's going to be talking to us about his new gig and some of the old-time favorites as well. Stephen Howard in Mexico City, welcome again to Global TV.
Thank you, Ed. Good to see you again. Love your background.
Yeah, thank you. I know the blue ocean, blue water. Where is it? Okay, there it
There
is.
it
Yeah, see, no pollution, no sewage,
is.
and no hurricanes out there at this time.
That helps.
So Stephen Howard Speaks is your new gig, and I noticed that your headquarters are in Palm Springs, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's when I lived in Asia, I did a lot of keynote speaking, and after I moved back to the US, I was looking after my father's health, and after he passed on, I started thinking, well, maybe the speaker market, there's a lot of things I can share with audiences in the United States, and then this thing called COVID came along and kind of put those plans on hold for 3 years. So now I'm underway. I've just done my first major conference in the United States and got a couple of the virtual and face-to-face gigs coming up. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and you're going to be on our TV broadcast system, GTV, we're calling it, Global TV Network, October 11 and beyond. And our London global meeting will be December 7, and I'm really happy to announce that you'll be our closing keynoter again. You did it the first time in London, recently on May 9. Our host facilitator is the Global Trade Bank, we all know about, HSBC.
All right.
So I'm really honored to have them invite me back. And we have an excellent program developing. It will be somewhat different than the previous. It will be very much more workshop oriented rather than speeches. We'll certainly have some of those. So I
Great.
want to ask you about Stephen Howard Speaks, and is there some kind of special um, theme that you have?
Yeah, I mean the main thing I have is based on the recent book on human leadership, and it's about mindsets, and it's about mindsets. I talk about leadership mindsets that elevate performance, deliver results, and create culture. So that's it's a long title. I don't use that in every title, but basically it's all about leadership mindsets. And people talk about leadership and leadership skills and things leaders should be thinking about and trying to inspire leaders, but no one talks about their leadership mindset. And to me, that's the heart of being a good leader.
So because of COVID, it's changed everything. There's still changes going on. It's changed work and workplaces. I've seen that as one of your quotes. And you say, as a result, the great resignation and quiet quitting trends have continued, accompanied by a third way, a third trend, devastating, your words, devastating workplace productivity, collaboration. And this is resulting in fact, I had trouble even saying this silently to myself, resenteeism. Okay,
I
what is
didn't
that?
I didn't create that word, but somebody else did. It's a trend. It's a play off the word presenteeism, which we've seen in the workplace even before the pandemic. People presenteeism basically means people show up, do their job 8 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever they happen to be working, and nothing more. And sometimes they can do their job. I mean, they'll be sitting there playing solitaire on their computers and just doing the bare minimum to collect a paycheck. So they're present. So it's like you have absenteeism when employees don't show up to work. Then you have presenteeism, where employees basically show up and do the bare minimum. And now resenteeism is happening because of the great resignation. People are leaving. The work doesn't stop. It gets dumped on everyone else who stays. And now they're resenting it. And they're resenting their inability to change jobs. They're frustrated. Some people feel like they're stuck. They can't change jobs. Maybe they've been there 22 years and they're waiting to get a couple more years for their pension or something. But now they're resentful. So that's what resenteeism is.
Okay, so in your new gig, Stephen Howard Speaks, um, are you finding that your customers, the organizations and corporations that retain your services, do they want, they don't want to be talked to, they want to be involved, right? They want, to use a phrase, actionable content
Yeah.
rather than lesson one, lesson two, lesson three.
Yeah, I think it has changed coming out of the pandemic. They don't want the motivational, rah 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 speaker with the story all about themselves. They want thought leaders. They want people who have a new perspective on leadership, which human leadership certainly is, and they want content that specifics, 2 or 3 things that people can walk away with and say, I can go execute this now, or I need to think about executing this now. So it has, the speaking industry has changed from that rah 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 high profile Tony Robbins type speaker that everyone stand up and do this together. Now turn to your neighbor on the left and do this. And now that they're looking for really, as I say, actionable content they can walk away with and put into action.
So you're talking to their brain.
Much more so, yeah, much more so. A little bit to their heart, because in my case, I'm talking about leading people, and there's an emotional side to leading people. But yeah, really talking to the brain, getting them to think, innovative ideas, getting them to reflect and think about what they think about leadership. I mean, I want the audience to walk away thinking, well, I walked in this room thinking about, for instance, my job is to manage people. And I've walked out of Stephen's speech thinking my job is to lead people. My job is not to manage people. So I want to change people's mindsets.
Developing talent, the developing what capabilities, right?
And also, when we talk about that, when we develop talent, and I think a lot of people stop there. They want to develop talent or skills or competency and capability. One of my messages to leaders, particularly younger leaders, first line, second line leaders, you need to develop people's confidence in their capability, confidence in their skills, but also confidence in their decision-making skills.
So people suffer from, not everybody, but the imposter syndrome. In other words, they don't think they know what to do, or they're afraid to speak up, or they're afraid to be looked at badly. Or
I think part of my message to leaders is to drop that mindset. That is a mindset change. It's okay to be vulnerable in today's world. In fact, that one of the ways you build trust with people is you can say to your team, you know what, I don't have the answer. Let's work on it together. Or I'm not sure. Let me tell you what I know today. And let me, for instance, I'll give you an example. Let's say COVID breaks out again. Hopefully not. Knock on wood, it doesn't. But let's say it breaks out again and a few states start mandating back to work. Leaders aren't going to know when the states are going to change those rules and regulations. So they basically have to tell people, look, based on what we know today, here's how we're going to handle the situation. When we have more information, we will regroup, we will reassess, and we will make new decisions. And that's okay. We can't have all the answers as leaders today.
so the new leadership, as expressed in your book, Humany, it's HUMONY, is about capability building, tech-enabled, skills-based hiring to begin with, and then working on applications of that.
Working on application, and then really, the key today is keeping your good employees, and stopping the Great Resignation from hurting. I mean, it's very hard to build your business or your business unit or your department, whatever you're in charge of, if one of your key expenses and key time constraints is recruiting, onboarding, training, and developing new people to replace staff who've left. That's a huge expense, and that's a huge time consumption. So really what we want to do is find leaders who can develop people, motivate people, inspire them, empower them, and get the work done. That's why I say it's still about delivering results, but if you focus on people first, you're going to get the results that you desire.
Okay, so let's just tell everybody out there that Stephen Howard is a CEO, and your job now is to be the head of learning and development. Would you agree?
But partly, I think at a CEO level, I mean, they have much greater responsibility, and more future forward. But I think they need to set the right environment for that. And for instance, Google did some research and came out, I think, last year or the year before, that one of the number one factors for successful teams is psychological safety. And they describe psychological safety as, people being willing to speak up, not afraid that they're going to be ridiculed for their ideas. No one's going to shoot them down. No one's going to say something like, we tried that 7 years ago. It didn't work then. It won't work now. So people can bring their whole selves into the workplace. Now, the CEO's job is to set that environment, set that standard, and walk the talk as well. It's the people below who are running the operations of the business who need to focus on developing people, not the HR department, not the talent and learning department. They're resources to leverage. But each leader, right down to a team leader, should be focusing on how to develop the skills and talents of the people on their team.
So the words resilience, adaptability, this sounds like a shrink session, but it's not, because those are high-priced skills if you got them.
They're high. I tell you what, one of the things, if I was recruiting somebody today in a company, one of the things I would ask them, I would say, Ed, tell me a time when you had to make a decision when you didn't have all the facts at hand, and tell me what happened. And you know what? I don't care about the results of your response. I care about what you learned about leading the team, what you learned about yourself, your own resiliency, your own decision-making capabilities, because that's what I want to hire you. Because the results were dependent on what the market situation was at the time, your product at the time, your competitors at the time. If I'm going to hire you, I want to know, what have you learned about building resilience in yourself, in your team, in being adaptable, in changing, when things, being able to change when waves of change hit you. Now, if you can show me that you've done that in the past, I'm more willing to hire you.
So the role of onboarding, you mentioned it a few minutes ago. That actually starts, somebody told me recently, that actually starts during the talent acquisition stage.
Very much so. But from both perspectives, I think from the employer perspective, as they're assessing candidates and assessing, like I just said, I'm assessing your resiliency skills. I'm assessing your adaptability skills with that answer. I'm not assessing what results you got. So I'm assessing that. I think the person, the prospective employee, is also assessing, thinking, wow, you know what? I might work for this person. They've asked me better questions. Everyone else wants to ask me, tell me about your last project. What did you accomplish? What were the results? Do I want to work for somebody who's only going to focus on results? If I'm being recruited, I would ask somebody, hey, Ed, tell me the time when you mentored someone and you really saw their skills develop. That's what I want to hear as a prospective employee, because if you can tell me that you've done that, hey, I want to work for you because I can learn from you. I mean, people want to go to work not just to earn money. They want to go to work to learn things, to develop themselves, to learn new skills, learn a new industry. That's really critical.
Okay, so I want to bring in a sports analogy here, like the walk-off home run. Okay. So for instance, last night my team, San Diego Padres, they had a walk-off 2-run homer in the last of the 9th inning, and they won the game 2-0. Right. All right, and that is like, it was a celebration, because all the tension and the deliverability of that hitting the ball right far enough, and it last of the 9th, and the pitcher threw a no-hitter for 7 innings, and he's up for consideration for a Cy Young Award. I mean, this is like a champion. So translating that now to the workplace, post-COVID, and hybrid is the rule these days, right? It's not going to go away. And yet, how would you advise leaders who you speak to now in large assemblies as well as one-on-one, like a TV show like this? How would you get leaders to think about both ways, learning the new skill, reskilling something old to get ready for something new, like AI and the application to whatever it is the company's doing?
Well, it's a great question, great analogy. I think you focus on, if you use your analogy, what led to that success last night? Was it the scouting report about the pitcher so that you knew that, you know, when the count was 2 balls and 1 strike, he tended to throw a high slider, for instance, so the batters, whoever hit that home run, was prepared for the pitch? Was it the way the batter himself had practice and batting practice that morning or that afternoon before the game? So what skills led? So let's talk about what led to develop. Often we'll talk about, we do after action reports about failures, what went wrong. I do an after action report, what went right, what can we replicate in the future? Hey, if that scattering report was great, we need to make sure we're investing in our scouts. If it was the way the hitter, maybe the hitting coach changed his stance a little bit or changed the way he held the bat a little bit, well, then that was a skill development. So first of all, I think you want to look at that and how can you replicate that success? And then how can you replicate it in other areas? The second part of that is, and I think it goes back to what I talked earlier about psychological safety. Part of psychological safety is being willing to fail. Go into what your learning zone is. We focus so much on your performance zone. How are you performing? How are we learning? So let's take AI. Let's work with it. Let's make mistakes. I've seen colleagues of mine who've used AI to write a blog post, and there was a factual incorrect in that blog post. Well, AI is not perfect. Now that person learned, they need to fact check. They can use AI to maybe write their first draft of their blog, but you can't just copy and paste what AI gives you, because chances are, you know, what we used to say in the old computer industry, garbage in equals garbage out. Well, sometimes AI is garbage in. Other times it's great. So use it, leverage it for what it's good at. And if you fail, learn from those failures, learn from those mistakes.
So as we come to a close in this short version of an interview, I want you to talk about your schedule and what you have coming up.
Well, I'm giving a talk next month to a healthcare industry on their compliance conference. And you said, well, what do I know about compliance? Not a whole lot, but my talk is going to be about how do you, and this is to medical practitioners, how do you build your medical practice through better decision making? So I'm going to go back to my previous book about better decisions, better thinking, better outcomes, and teach some of these medical professionals how stress impacts their decision making. And medical professionals, as you know, are under high levels of stress. And not only do they have to take care, you know, it's one of those things. They're highly proficient at their medical practice, whether it's doctor, dentist, podiatrist, whatever. But how good are they at leading the people in their clinic, leading the staff, leading the nurses? And so I'll talk to them a little about leadership as well as how they're making decisions. I've got your show in London, which I'm excited about coming up. And even though that may be virtual, though, you know, I might surprise you and pop over there and do a live presentation for you. If Adriana will let me get on an airplane without her, we'll see. So yeah, I've got several speaking gigs coming up. And what's interesting right now, this is the time when people are planning their 2024 conferences, associations are planning it. They're planning their, you know, their monthly lunch and learn. So I'm in a lot of conversations with a lot of event planners and conference organizers right now about their 2024 needs. And so that's keeping me pretty busy.
So I just want to mention now, not only to your ears, but to everybody out there, that we're doing New York Global Meeting on November 9. and that's being put together now. It will be in person as well as virtual. So very much like the London event, which will be on, once again, December 7th. And more about all that later. Thank you, Stephen Howard, for being my special guest again on Global TV Talk Show. And we'll see you on the trail.
Thank you, Ed. Nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you again. And thanks for the opportunity to talk about my speaking career. All the best.
So do you have a special website now?
I do actually. You can kind of see it in the background behind me. It's StephenHowardSpeaks.com, and I have 5 signature programs that conference organizers can look at. There's a little video of what we call a speaker reel of me speaking on stage and some of the past experiences around the world, because I've spoken in Asia, Australia, Fiji, New Zealand, Dubai, all over Asia, and now across the United States. So there's a little video there. So yeah, so it's StephenHowardSpeaks.com is the place to go.
Great. And thank you again for being on Global TV Talk Show. And we'll see you on the trail.
All right. Thank you, Ed. All the best.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.